Member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from Louisiana, Dr. Boustany.
Gentleman from Louisiana is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank Chairman Camp for yielding time to me. Mr. Speaker, before I came to Congress, I was a practicing cardiovascular surgeon with many years' experience, and it was not unusual to get called out of the night to do an emergency or on a holiday. Just like doctors all over this country, we're there 24/7 to deal with problems. Now, I remember distinctly one night, Christmas Eve, in fact, I was getting ready to sit down with my family for dinner and got called to see an 85-year-old Cajun gentleman with a very large family who had a ruptured aneurysm, and he was in shock. I spent the entire night operating on this man. We saved his life. Long story short, we have a duty, an obligation to our patients. And by God, to put physicians in a position of seeing a 28% cut in reimbursement is just untenable. Why? It's not because of the physicians, it's because of patients who are going to lose access. Medicare beneficiaries, seniors, those with disabilities who will lose access to care in a situation where we're already seeing that eroding access. We have an obligation to act because the consequences are not good with regard to all these provisions that we're trying to extend. This House passed a bill last week. It was a very responsible bill with good reforms, and it gives a 2-year stability period for physicians and for those patients who desperately need this care. And what did the Senate do? What did the Senate do? The Senate capitulated, the Senate caved, and the Senate basically just gave up with contempt for the American people. That's what it comes down to. They basically are content with allowing confusion and disruption and chaos and uncertainty for patients who deserve good, high-quality care. They did the same thing to those who depend on these unemployment benefits, and the same for those who depend on this payroll tax cut during this holiday season. We're going to pass a bill today that basically says we want to go to conference to resolve these differences. And the Senate has an obligation to the American people to stand with us and follow its constitutional duty to go to conference to resolve these disputes, these differences, in a time-honored way. Mr. Speaker, the Senate has an obligation to the American people. The Senate has an obligation to carry out its duty to the American people. We can get this right. Let's do it and be done with it. But let's get it done, and let's get it done right. And I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. For information, the gentleman from Michigan, Mr.